really, really am so excited to be with you here and to be talking about your your technology. The two of you really are pioneers in 3D sacred geometry technology. I don't know anybody who has done anything close to what you're doing. And I would love to just I know that you have a presentation, to share with us, but anything, any words of wisdom you can give us specifically around why 3D is 3D sacred geometry is so different and so um we've talked a lot about busting myths here with sacred geometry and karma. Um, but I would love for you to just give a little piece just around the importance of 3D sacred geometry technology.
Well, simply put, we exist in 3D. We're not 2D beings. And 2D is what you see on a piece of paper, a design like this. But can you read it now? It doesn't exist. You see, 2D does not exist in our reality. It exists inside our head. When we're reading a book, this is where it exists. When we see a pretty image like a star tetrahedron that's squished, and so you have a star, a six-pointed star, or you have the Sri Yantra or the yin yang. These are all symbols that were written down and they allude to something else greater, but in reality, they don't affect this physical reality. Only through our intent, only through our intention and the way we read them. So we understand the 2D world because we're three-dimensional beings, and higher dimensions can look back into lower dimensions. And so we've become masters of 2D. But if a 2D being were to talk to us and we were to draw a circle or a triangle or a square in the world, though it's dimensional, they wouldn't be able to see it as anything more than a line because they couldn't see the center of it. They can't see the core of their own being in 2D. And that's part of our issue as a three-dimensional being. We can look into there, but we have difficulty even understanding our own 3D reality. So it's only by rising up to higher dimensional realms that we can look back into our lives, our reality, and see how it's working, see what's real. We can see the core of who we are and what's going on from a fourth, fifth, sixth dimensional perspective. The trick for human beings is to be able to rise to that perspective. I mean, that's what karma is all about, is the more you start to dissipate negative karma, you take on a learning that allows you to expand your being and look into reality from a higher perspective. Does that make sense, what's being said?
It totally makes sense. And my personal experience of working with your technology is that when I use it and I go into meditation, I am literally taken into a three-dimensional experience um, of the sacred geometry. For me, I don't know how it, I, I'm guessing that it maybe works different for everybody depending on your meditation. But for me, I'm quite quickly taken into a three-dimensional Merkaba. Like I can feel it, see it, luminous around me very easily. It's almost like this just takes me right into it. But the other thing that I have experienced in my meditation is I use a particular mudra in one of the parts of my meditation, and it actually takes me directly into a 3D experience of the Sri Yantra, um, as I've been wearing this, and it's quite mind blowing to say the least. But only because it's a new experience to have that, right? Like you say, oh, I've seen the Sri Yantra in 2D many times before, but to experience it in 3D and be in it and have a felt experience of what it feels like, in the beginning is like, oh my gosh, it's a game changer, really. But what I think I hear you saying is that not only the experience of 3D, the technology can also help us to go to even higher dimensions, 4D, 5D,
Mhm.
6D.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. And in fact, that's, I think, part of what's happening with you. And I love that experience that you're having when you work with that mudra. Um, we look at things in very static ways. We don't incorporate time as part of, I mean, we are constantly in a state of change, of evolution, of movement. And that starts moving us into those higher dimensions. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're actually feeling this sense of the evolutionary pattern, the evolutionary time sequence that's happening. And the more that we can experience and learn how to navigate with our multidimensional self, that is really what we're here for. That's what we're capable of. And getting back to karma, it's so important that this karma clearing happens, because karma is really working with us so much on the lower dimensional planes, on the physical levels. And the higher levels is where we reach those places of love, of compassion, of acceptance, of ecstatic relationship. And so to be able to move through all of this is it's just giving us so much capability. It's really it's what's supposed to be right now.
It is, and I want you guys to take a moment and share your presentation in just a moment. But I just want to reiterate that something that Gregory was saying is that we can't, just use some magical tool to like poof and not have to deal with our karma, because karma is all about learning. But what we can do, and as what the book, what Autobiographies of a Yogi says, and what the Hoags have tapped into, is that the rishis have known for thousands of years that that they call it the wise ones, know how to create tools to lessen the impact of karma. You still have to go through it to learn your lesson, but there are tools we can use to lessen the impact of it. And that is literally what I believe that the Hoags are doing with their sacred geometry.